Hi, my name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to go over a 1-month review of owning a Kobo Libra Color. I want to start off with a disclaimer. I am not like a tech guru. I'm not super versed in like specs and processors and whatever the fuck. I'm just not, okay? Like my husband built my computer for me. I know some things. I'm definitely like able to function in everyday society in the year 2024 of our Lord and Savior Taylor Swift, and I can like use my phone. I edit on the computer. Like I do things on the computer, and I have been able to do some things with the Kobo and whatnot. So I am like slightly above the average consumer, but I'm not by any means like a tech person. So this is just a review by a reader. The first thing I'm going to talk about is just the overall operating system. I think that the UI looks really clean. I love the row along the bottom that kind of has your major categories. It's not entirely different than like the Kindle operating system. They're very similar in ways, although the Kobo operating system does have more buttons along the bottom and it has a couple more options in the menu, but other than that, they're similar. So having switched from the Paperwhite to the Kobo, like within 10 minutes, I was super familiar with it and able to navigate myself around. Although I do think one thing that the Kobo does better than the Kindle, among other things, is the fact that there is overdrive integration directly in the operating system. So there is an overdrive tab on your Kobo and you can go and sign in with your library card. So when you're browsing the Kobo store for books, you will have the option to borrow them directly from your library from the Kobo store. So if the book that you're searching for is available on your library, you can hit the 3-dot menu and select borrow with overdrive instead of having to purchase your ebook. It always kind of reminds you to like, hey, don't forget you can check out books from the library. And that's another thing I really like about Kobo. I feel like they encourage you to utilize the library and not pay for all of the ebooks that you're reading, because obviously libraries are such a great infinite resource. And the Kobo just feels like a little less consumerism based than the Kindle does. Another feature that the Kobo Libra Color offers is the notebook area. So kind of like on a Kindle Scribe, you can open up a separate notebook page and take notes in there. And I think that the notebook on the Kobo is actually really smooth. I was so surprised with how smooth the writing is on there, and you can like circle words, move them around, resize them, highlight, etc., etc. You can like doodle. You can change the page background in the notebook. So in the Scribe, I'm pretty sure, I don't have a Scribe, but from what I've seen of other people, once you create a notebook in the Scribe, it has the same page layout all the way through. But on the Libra, I could create a notebook with lined pages, and I can go through and change each individual page to have a different layout, which I think is really cool, because then people can really customize and set up however they want in here. I don't think I'm going to be doing any like heavy book journaling in here or anything that I can't just do like with a physical notebook. However, I have actually used the notebook feature quite a bit more than I thought I would. So I have a couple notes in here about my TBR, and I also have a whole notebook with review notes for this video. So it's been really nice to just kind of have that seamless integration where if I'm reading a book and I'm like annotating, or if I discovered something on the Kobo, I could just switch over to a notebook, jot something down super quick, and swipe back to the book I was reading. I will say that the palm rejection on the Libra Color is not like super perfect. However, when you're in the notebook, you actually can't tap the screen to bring up the menu the way that you can when you're in a book. There's a little drop down arrow in the top corner that you can tap to bring up the menu. So it kind of planned ahead and knew that like, okay, like maybe our palm rejection isn't going to be that great, so we won't allow palm technology to open the menu here. So that way when you're fully like immersed in a notebook and you're like scribbling, drawing, whatever, like that movement of your hand is not going to bring up the menu. Whereas when you're inside of a book and you're annotating, it does still have the palm detection, because you can tap to bring up the menu, or you can swipe or tap to turn the page. I did find that when I first started doing the annotations in the book that I was reading, my palm would kind of tap the page to move forward. However, there's an option in the menu that will help with that. So you can go into your reading menu and you can change the page turn from tap and swipe directly to swipe only. So it does kind of help, because if you tap the page with your hand when you're annotating, like when you first put your hand down, it's not going to register that tap as a page turn, and kind of help a little bit with that. Although I will say that if you put your hand down on the page and start taking notes, occasionally it will also bring up that menu. You just tap to remove it. It's like not a huge deal to me personally. I have kind of learned though throughout the first 2 or 3 weeks that I was using this, that it's kind of just easier to hold the thicker side of the Kobo in my offhand when I'm taking notes and rest my hand on the edge of the device here and just like use the pen just a little bit farther up, because again, like I'm not writing on a paper, like I don't need to be super low on the pen, and like this is still fine for me, and I can just write whatever I want to write, highlight whatever, and it's fine. So I've kind of learned now the hand placement that I need to not have the palm detection pick up so frequently, and at this point it's like not something I even like notice or care about, and when it does happen, like very occasionally, I just tap the screen to get rid of the menu and then continue whatever I was writing. Like it's so not even a big deal at all. However, when you do tap the screen, so say if I was writing something and I tap the screen with my hand, you can still write your notes with the menu up, because it's just like 2 bars on the top and the bottom. So it's not actually like disrupting your note taking unless you're like super on the bottom or super on the top. But if you're writing in the middle of the page or on the side of the page, if that menu pops up, like you could just keep writing whatever you're writing, tap the page, and then continue reading. So even though the palm rejection isn't fantastic, like there's definitely tips and tricks that you can do to work around that. And honestly, it's not a deal breaker for me. So since we're talking about the notebook features, I will just say that I did not get the Kobo Stylus 2. I opted for the Metapen 2 because I saw a YouTube short by a woman who was comparing them side by side. She had both devices on her and they are the exact same build, like the shape, the size, everything was the exact same. The only difference was that the side button here erases on the Metapen and the back highlights, whereas on the Stylus, the side button highlights and the back erases. I find that I'm erasing things more often than I'm highlighting, because if I'm about to annotate something, I'll highlight first and then I'll do my notes and whatnot around it. So I'm using the eraser more often than I am the highlighter, because if my handwriting was too big and I'm like, hold up, I need more space, I'll erase whatever. So the button actually being erased for me is like working fine, and I don't have any issues with like remembering the buttons or anything like that. I've charged it once so far and I haven't had to charge it again yet. It's been 3-4 weeks. One thing I do love about the Kobo is that it doesn't force you to buy the stylus that they make. Like it immediately detects this other stylus. You don't have to pair it or anything like that. It just automatically detects it. And when you tap on the battery icon with your finger, it tells you the battery of the device. But if you tap on the battery icon with the stylus, it will tell you the battery of the Kobo and the battery of your stylus. It'll say like battery okay or battery low. Hi baby, what are you doing? Don't know where I left off because my son came to ask me a question. But I really love that when you check the battery with your pen, it will also tell you the battery of the device and the battery of your stylus as well. And I thought that was just like a neat little like quality of life thing that they added that isn't really super important, but also just kind of helpful. Another random thing that I want to mention that actually like isn't really the device's fault at all is screen protectors. So I had initially got a kind of a thicker screen protector. I didn't realize how thick it was at the time, but I got the screen protector, I put it on, I was like, wow, like this looks really nice, blah, blah, whatever. And then like I went to go use the Kobo later that night and like I was reading a book and like the buttons, obviously everything was working fine. I went to go tap the page and I'm like, oh my God, like my screen's not working. I'm gonna have to contact Kobo. I got a defective device. They're gonna send me a new one and their shipping takes forever. I waited 3 weeks for this to show up, blah, blah, until I realized my screen protector was just thick as heck. So I did take that one off and returned the other one because it came in a 2-pack, and then I bought a thinner screen protector. So if you buy a screen protector for your Kobo, just make sure you're not getting a super thick one because the screen will not be able to tell what the hell you're trying to do. Okay, and the next thing I want to talk about is the color. Personally, I think the colors on here look so good. When I was watching videos of other people's reviews to try to gauge like if this was a device that I thought would work for me, a lot of people said that they thought the colors were really dull and ugly and muted and blah, blah, blah. And I just feel like obviously it's not going to be as saturated and super high like brightness and vibrance as an iPad would. And I have an iPad and I knew knew that going in that the Kobo screen was going to be different because it's e-ink. And I am unfortunately a migraine sufferer, so I cannot read on my iPad. I use it for like doodling. I use Canva on there. I make a lot of like my thumbnails on there and other like small graphics for Instagram, whatnot, whatever. And I also just kind of use it as like a TV for YouTube, but I cannot read on there because the brightness just really hurts my eyes when I'm trying to focus on the letters. So I knew that a more like subtle and gentle screen is definitely what I wanted. That's why I had the Paperwhite. But I gotta say, I really think these colors are fantastic. I don't know why people think that they're not that vibrant. Now, are they a little bit muted? Yes. Of course they are. It's e-ink. It's not an LCD display. It's not an OLED display. Like, it's gonna be muted because of the nature of the technology. However, I feel like they're just as beautiful, and the contrast of the colors is like equal in contrast to the Paperwhite. Like, obviously the Paperwhite is black and white and the Kobo is color, but the contrast levels like still feel the same. Like, I don't feel like the covers are washed out, and I don't feel like the colors blend together in an unnatural way. Like, the picture still is distinguishable, and I can like easily see each and every color on the cover, and I feel like it is a subtle beauty. I don't think it's oversaturated. I don't think it's going to blow your mind if you're like a screen snob and you're like, I need the highest resolution 1080p whatever PPI. Like, it's not an iPad, babe, okay? It's just not. So if that's what you're expecting out of it, if you're expecting like an iPad mini type screen, then just like get an iPad mini. Sorry, I didn't mean to have an attitude there. Woo! Just jumped out at me. Now, there is also a way to go into your settings and turn on something called developer mode. And in the developer mode menu, there are kind of like color presets that you can choose between. I'll link the video that I saw on how to do this. It's so quick. I'll link it for you down below and in the card up here. But there are, I think, 5 or 6 kind of pre-made color sets that are kind of hidden on here. So if the default color set like doesn't work for you, there are some other color sets where the saturation hues are different and like the values are different. So just choose one of those that you think is better. But I think right out of the box, this thing looks incredible, and you can do that if you need to, but like I don't really think you need to at all. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the brightness. I think that the brightness of this device is fine. It is absolutely less bright than the Paperwhite. And when I had my Paperwhite and that's all that I was using, I never ever put my brightness over like 30% because when it gets too bright, again, for me, like it triggers that migraine if it's way too bright. And I find that when the e-ink is dimmer, it actually kind of looks more like a page to me personally. So it doesn't bother me at all. It might be your preference to have it brighter, but I will like show some clips here of the two of them next to each other. And then I will also show some clips of the Kobo in different lighting. I think that outside in direct sunlight at about 50% brightness, like it's completely legible. It looks paper-like, but not super papery, and there's not a huge glare. And if there is like a tiny glare, just shift your angle and it like disappears. I also find that indoors reading, I do put the brightness down even lower, and especially at night. Like at night, I think I have my brightness on maybe like 8 or 9% because I really want it to be dim and like a very like relaxing, non-stimulating experience because I am reading at night and I'm like getting ready for bed, so I don't want it to like blast my face with a flashbang, so to speak. And I think that the sliding bar on the side to adjust the brightness is so nice. Like it's so seamless. You can adjust the brightness at any moment without even stopping reading. Like you can be actively reading and just slide your thumb up or down on the side, and it's really great. So even though this doesn't have automatic brightness like the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition did, I am not finding that I'm like lacking it. I'm not like, oh my god, like I wish the brightness was automatic. Like it really isn't affecting me at all to go from having the automatic brightness on my Kindle to not having automatic brightness on my Kobo, because again, like that slider bar is just so easy to use, and it's also just really cool. Like I think it's nice. It's a nice touch, and I think they knew like, okay, we're not going to have automatic brightness as an option, probably to save battery. That's like my assumption. So they were like, let's throw in a like invisible touch bar for the brightness on the side of the book, and it's just so cool and I really love it. Nice touch, Kobo, for sure. I really really like that. Another thing I want to talk about is the battery life. I think the battery life is really great. The first cycle definitely like felt like it drained a little bit quicker, but once I fully charged it a second time, now I'm noticing that it is like really draining a lot slower. And I also saw on Reddit, I don't know if this is factual like at all, I didn't fact check it and I am certainly too lazy to do so, but I saw on Reddit that like when you get a new device, it's best to kind of let the battery go like as low as possible, so that way the device can give you an accurate representation of the battery level, because if you charge it too soon, it doesn't fully know like I guess what the battery is capable of or like how long it's like lasting or whatever. So my plan is to just like let it get to like 2% every time I charge it, and I think it will be fine. I've charged it twice. Once when I first got it, charged it all the way to 100, used it till it got to about 10%, charged it all the way to 100. Then I saw that thing about letting it drop really low. So now I'm just gonna let it go. Right now my battery's on like 75% and I only charged it like 5 days ago maybe. But I've also been using it a lot because I've been really trying to like test it out, reading a lot. I was filming a video where I was reading ARCs, so I was reading them digitally. So it was like I've been using it quite frequently. So it draining a little bit faster is to be expected at the moment because I'm just like kind of putting it through the paces, but it doesn't really feel noticeably different than the paperweight battery. So just also keep that in mind, I guess. The next thing I'll talk about is the buttons. I think these buttons are great. I love them so much. They are just like, first of all, they're tiny and cute, adorable, but I feel like my buttons personally are really responsive. It feels solid all the way through, like both sides, middle. They don't feel loose. They click. They don't feel unevenly disputed in button pressing. I don't know what the technical term for that would be. I did see a couple reviews of people who had a black Kobo say that their buttons felt a little bit looser and not as responsive, but I haven't seen anyone else with a white Kobo say that, and this is just speculation. I think maybe there was like a bad batch of black buttons because my buttons are fine. So I don't know if like the black ones are, you know, there's a couple out there where they are a little looser, who knows? But I haven't had a single problem with my buttons and I love them. I love them so much. The default for the button that's on the bottom is to skip to the next page, and then the default for the button on the top is to go back a page. You can actually flip these if you want to. So if you have a bigger hand and your thumb is resting higher up on the device, you can make the top button your go forward button. And the Kobo is also auto rotating. So when you switch the Kobo over to the other side, the buttons also automatically rotate to the orientation of which you're currently holding it, which again is a super nice option because they do have this fat side with the buttons. So if they didn't have the auto rotate, it would make like reading in bed a little harder because if you're on one side or if you're on the other, like you have to kind of like hold it awkwardly. But now you can just switch whenever you need to, and it's so great. It's also great for annotations because I find a lot of the times I read with my right hand, but I am right-handed when I write. So when I switch it over to my left hand, I can just boop, take a note, stick my pen down, rotate it back, and it's so quick and so seamless. They did a great job with that. I know one of the kind of drawbacks, I guess, for people who are like heavily into the Kindle ecosystem to move over is they don't want to lose their Kindle books, and that's completely fair because you paid money for those. So I think that for me, it wasn't a big issue because I do have a computer and I have an old Kindle device, so I was able to utilize the methods that I found online to move my books over from one device to the other. And even though I had to kind of like piece together information from like Reddit, YouTube videos that were like, they gave you information, but they skipped a few steps or they didn't like link everything you needed and you had to kind of hunt for those links. So even though I kind of had to do like, you know, a little sleuthing to get all the information and like a step-by-step process in my mind so I could, you know, easily do the switch over, it was like kind of fun. I don't know, like it was fun because I was like, again, like I said at the beginning of this video, like I'm not a tech guru. So for me to be like,
yeah, I know how to move over and like I can convert my EPUBs to KEPUBs.
I don't know, it was just fun to learn how to do that, and I thought like it was easy. I mean, it wasn't really hard at all. Again, not a tech person and I still managed to figure it out in a couple of days. And if you need help, not to toot my own horn, but I have a video on how to move your Kindle books over to your Kobo. I'll link it down below and in the card so you can watch that as well. But yeah, my experience moving the books over was just like so easy. And I know that the solutions that I found don't work for everybody because you have to have a serial number from an old Kindle to make this process work for you, the process that I followed. And there are a couple of other processes that you can do to kind of circumvent and like weave your way around the loophole, so to speak. Again, in that video that I linked, I have some pinned comments there with links to other places to help you if you need them. Another thing that I think is amazing about the Kobo is that it has Dropbox and Google Drive built in. So for instance, at the end of last year, I beta read for my friend Jade, and I think that if she wasn't using like Google Docs, if she were to send me like a PDF version of it, so to speak, I could just upload the PDF version to my Google Drive, access it directly on my Kobo, take notes on the PDF, save it, and send it back. And I just feel like that is so cool. I feel like for writers, this would be such a cool thing for you to have like a PDF of whatever, or even just an EPUB of your file, annotate, cross out, make edits, whatever, and then like be able to transfer it over to computer. But I don't know, I'm not a writer, so I don't know if that's like actually valid, but I feel like it's just a cool tool, even for maybe like students or people even who read academic articles, because they have the Pocket app integrated on here as well. I don't have a Pocket account. I'm not like a scholarly article kind of gal anymore. I was in college, but fortunately those days are past me. So all of that to say, I just think that Kobo in general really has a lot of features that like cater to the consumer. Like they want you to have a seamless experience in whatever it is you do. Article reading, notebook taking, annotating, library usage, and like even just shopping on the store is super easy. And you know, having Dropbox and Overdrive there, like you can open PDFs on here, you can open EPUBs on here, you can open your KEPUBs. And I just think that Kobo feels like a company that like wants you to have a great experience, whereas like Kindle is just like trying to sell you stuff. Personally, that's my thoughts. Don't come for me. Again, I had the Paperwhite for nearly 2 years and I loved it, but I opted for the more expensive signature edition because I didn't want the fucking ads on the screen. And at the bottom of the Kindle, there's like a home button and a library button, and your library is just your books. But if you hit the home button, it's like a couple books from your library, and then it's like trying to sell you 10 different things. It's like series you started and didn't finish, and it's like trying to sell you ebooks, or it's like Kindle Unlimited, buy now. Look at this hot new Kindle Unlimited book. It's like constantly asking you to like
buy Kindle Unlimited, buy Kindle Unlimited, buy Kindle Unlimited.
Like it's so annoying. When I got my Kobo, it asked me like right at the start, do you want to start a free trial of Kobo Plus? I said skip, and it hasn't fucking asked me since. And it is fantastic. Like it's just great. It feels like so much less pressure to keep buying ebooks and keep buying all this shit to go with my Kindle. Like it just feels like they really encourage you to kind of like read the things that you already have, even in their stats feature. So you have stats when you're reading the book itself. Inside of the book, it'll tell you how many minutes is left of your current chapter, how many minutes the next chapter is, how far you are into the book, how many hours are left in the book total. But there's also device stats, and it will tell you how many of your books that you already own are finished, and it will give you like a little circle chart with like your percentage, and then it will tell you exactly how many books you've marked finished. And it's just really like feels like it's geared towards getting me to read the things that I already own, and it just feels so much less consumerism-y, even though like obviously I paid for things. I consumed, but the company itself feels like they care about you not buying things over and over and over again. When I did my unboxing, actually, when I opened this, there's like a little note in there that says that it's designed to be third-party fixable. You can replace the battery, you can replace parts, and it says that they want you to have your device for as long as possible. And the housing is entirely recycled plastic. So the front face, the back face, and the buttons are all recycled plastic. Obviously, the parts on the inside are not entirely recycled. I think some of it might be, but some of it is, not recycled. And I just think it's nice that they even bother to try. Like the recycled material it feels fine. Like I would have never known if they didn't tell me that this wasn't like brand new plastic. It feels great. The front is super smooth. Back has a really cute like flowery texture, which kind of helps with grip. I don't know. I just feel like this company cares about a customer experience, whereas Kindle, aka Amazon, just kind of cares about like selling you shit. It's just a nice change of pace. It especially feels good to be like detached from the Amazon ecosystem. Like I don't feel pressure to ever like buy Kindle Unlimited, even though I don't ever use it. So I touched on this a minute ago, but some of my favorite features are the stats when you're reading. I absolutely love seeing the stats. So when you're inside of a book and you look at the stats, it'll tell you how many minutes is left in the chapter you're currently reading, how many minutes the next chapter is. It also gives you a bar graph preview of the rest of the chapters that are left, and the taller the bar means that the chapter is longer, and if the bar is shorter, it means it's a shorter chapter. And it also tells you like total hours left to go on your book. So for example, I'm currently reading The Lies of Locke Lamora, and it tells me I have 10 minutes to read this chapter. The next chapter is only 1 minute. I see the bar graph here of all the chapters I have remaining in my book, and I also see that I have 16.1 hours left to go. Clearly, I've been reading a little slowly lately because that's wild. I'm hoping that will drop a little bit significantly when I have more time to focus on reading, but that's a topic for another video, if you know what I mean. And then if you're on the homepage and you go to the More menu, and then there's a button that says Activity, you click that and it gives you even more stats. Again, it gives you a quick glance at your book. So it says book progress 7%, about 16 hours to go. Current chapter, I'm 0% through. And then it says 10 minutes to finish that chapter. 1.4 hours of reading for this book, 2 average minutes per session for this book, and then 2.9 average pages per minute for this book. And then at the bottom of this page, it says your all-time stats. So 35% of my books are finished, which equates to 86 books being marked finished. And so far on this device, I've read for a total of 31.2 hours, which is so cool. I just like these stats. Again, showing me how many books that I own that are already finished is like just kind of encouraging me to read what I have. I won't keep blabbing about how much Amazon makes me feel like I need to buy things, but anyway. Another one of my favorite features is that if I'm in a book and I'm annotating, so I read a lot of arcs on NetGalley. So say if I'm annotating something in the arc and I want to make a note of something for my review, you can swipe down from the top of the page. It will bring up your 3 most recent opened things, whether it's a book or your notebook or like an EPUB, whatever. You can swipe down, select your notebook, go to your notebook, take your note, swipe down, go back to your book. So it's minimizing the buttons that you have to press to go tap the page, go back to home, go to the notebook page, open the notebook. It's just kind of minimizing the time it takes for you to get from one place to another. So it does make that notebook usage a little bit more seamless when you're annotating books and want to make a longer note of something. Also, the fact that you can literally write on the words. Like, that's crazy. I remember when the Scribe came out, I was like so blown away. I was like, wow, oh my God, like you can write in the books. And then it was actually just not that cool because you have to write on like a Post-it kind of thing, and then you like put your handwritten note, but then the Post-it like goes away and it just has like a tiny little icon showing like there's a note for that area instead of actually writing on the page like you can do for a book. And so that was probably one of the biggest appeals to me when I got the Kobo, was being able to write directly on the words, and it's so fun. I also love the little bookmark that you get on the lock screen. So it's basically like a progress box, but I call it the bookmark. If your book is on the table with the bookmark in it, you can glance at it and be like, oh, I'm about halfway through, you know, like you can see that without having to go to the book, open it up, see what page number you're on. So this little thing on the screen feels to me like a little digital bookmark because I can just glance at it and say, oh, I'm 7% read with 16 hours to go. And I don't have to even turn my Kobo on to know that information. And I just think it's just a cute little touch. Just a cute little touch. I like it. There's a way that you can also like add screensavers in here if you don't want the book cover to be your screensaver. I personally love seeing the book cover as the screensaver because of the little bookmark thing, and just getting to see the color cover is so cool. I will not get over it. But I know my friend Missy has screensavers on hers that are like just really cute art, and a lot of people on like TikTok and stuff have really cute art as their screensavers. So it's definitely easy and doable. You can do that if you want to. I don't know how because I've never done it, but it is cute. Not for me, but super cute. And I do only have 2 cons. Well, 1 con for me, 2 cons overall. My first con is that there's no clock when you're reading the book. I liked having the clock up at the top of my Kindle book when I was reading, because when I'm reading, I really try not to stare at my phone. I've been terrible at it lately, so I'm lying through my teeth right now. But I try not to pick up my phone a lot when I'm reading. And so having the clock there is just another way to help keep me off of like social media, because you check the time and then you see a notification and then you click the notification and then you forget that you're reading a book. And before you know it, you're fucking 30 reels deep on Instagram an hour later. Yeah. Anyways, so I do wish that there was a clock inside of the book up at the top when you're reading. However, you can just tap the page and it brings the clock up on the menu. So it's really not a big deal. I wish it was there, but it's also not a deal breaker. And the other con would be for people who are like super, super, super Kindle Unlimited users. There is no Kindle Unlimited on here. It has Kobo Plus and Kobo Plus Audio. So the Kobo Plus subscription I think is $7.99, and then the Kobo Plus Audio, where you get like unlimited ebook and unlimited audiobook from Kobo, is $9.99 I think. So it's kind of a pro and a con, because it's cheaper for the like more expensive subscription for Kobo than it is from the Kindle one, because Kindle you have to pay like $11.99 for Kindle Unlimited and $14.99 for Audible. So like you're paying $30 a month essentially, whereas Kobo you can just buy the Kobo Plus Audible and it's like $9.99. But the Kobo Plus selection isn't as wide as Kindle Unlimited, and a lot of Kindle Unlimited books like romance, indie authors, romantasy, stuff like that, like if they are on Kindle Unlimited, so if that book is like offered on Kindle Unlimited, they cannot be on any other ebook store. And the only reason I know this is because my friend Jade recently published her own book called The Solstice Court, and I remember asking her like, oh, do you know if it'll be on Kobo, because I had just got my Kobo right before it was coming out. So even though I had pre-ordered the ebook on Amazon, I wanted to know if I could buy it over here as well. And she told me that because of offering their book on Kindle Unlimited, that they couldn't also put it on Kobo because of like whatever Kindle Unlimited clause, you know, like fucking exclusivity. I'm making up words now. They couldn't do it because of Kindle Unlimited. So once it's off Kindle Unlimited, I think other like authors can put the ebook on other stores, hence why the Kobo Plus selection is not as wide, and that's really unfortunate. I am not a whoa, I was about to say I'm not a cunt. I'm not a cunt. Yeah, can you tell I'm tired? I am not a Kindle Unlimited like heavy person. Like every now and then Amazon will be like, get Kindle Unlimited 3 months for 99 cents, and I'm like, sure, because for $3, like whatever, I'll read one book and it's worth it because it's only $3. So it's nice to just have the option of like, yeah, I got Kindle Unlimited for $3 for a couple months, so it's like, yeah, I'll check it out and use it if I can. But it's almost always like romance books, which I'm not super interested in, so I don't find like a value in paying for that service. But for those of you who do read a lot of romance, and Kindle Unlimited is like a really great source of indie pub romance or like romance in general for you, then yeah, the Kobo Plus selection like obviously is going to be a problem for you, but it's all just personal preference. In the end, I am finding that I'm loving this Kobo. I'm loving my experience with it, and that's me personally, because I don't use Kindle Unlimited, and I was really getting annoyed with Amazon like continuously being like, buy Kindle Unlimited, buy Kindle Unlimited, add. But if you read a lot of Kindle Unlimited, those things are going to appeal to you. You're going to like that better than I did, and that's fine. Also, this is like just my opinion on my experience so far after having a Kobo Libra Color for a month. I feel like I've been talking way too long, and I'm sure that I've forgotten to mention a few things that I have thought of previously, maybe mentioned something incorrectly. I'm a little bit tired. It's been a long day, but I'm here. I'm queer. 1 month thoughts of owning a Kobo Libra Color. I think my experience with it is really fun. I'm loving it. Cannot complain. So if you've made it this far in the video, leave a pen emoji in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!